I remember going out and I heard about this guy called Emperor Haile Selassie.
Yes.
And it was really extraordinary because Selassie was made emperor in 1935 or so, and he took upon him the title of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. And so, and part of the whole image and picture was, the guy in Jamaica, Marcus Garvey, was talking about that. Rastafarianism was birthed. So Rastafarianism talked about identity, it talks about a promised land, hope, it talked about liberation. And these were all the questions, all the things that I was thinking about. And so there was a message there for me. I felt rejected from this society that I was living in. I felt accepted in that scene. So obviously, I started not combing my hair. To my parents, to my mother, that was crazy because that was a cultural norm that no. She was a respectable Christian going to church. And so there was a conflict there, but I rebelled and I started to believe in Selassie. I wanted to move out, to Ethiopia. I wanted to leave England. And obviously with Selassie came and Rastafarianism came all the drugs, the beliefs and all that. I read the Bible. I read most of the Old Testament. And yet in that moment, I was still finding that there was something deeply missing in my life.
Your mother died relatively young, and your father moved back in.
Yeah, my mother died. It was interesting because when I went through that process, in the midst of that, my mother died. But in the midst of all of these things, I was searching for deep spiritual meaning. So Rastafarianism was attractive. I began to read the Bible, but I read the Old Testament, not the New Testament, because I was struggling with it. My mother died. It made me question, is there life after death? What happens? It's trauma again, bereavement again. And my father decided to move back in, and there was conflict.
Yes.
There was conflict. And I said to my dad, listen, Dad, I'm a Rasta, I don't believe in violence, but I'll kill you.
Yes.
And I was going to buy a machete to kill my father. But during the course of that day, I met this guy, this African guy, and I was inquisitive. What you do?
Was he called Amos?
Amos. That's the guy. He was called Amos. I said, what you do? And he just said, well, I've been studying here theology. Okay. I thought, okay. I'm from Nigeria. So my ear propped up. Tell me about Africa. He didn't tell me about Africa. He spoke about Jesus. And that was incredible. He spent 10 minutes with me or so. But that evening, as I was walking home, it's as if I was hearing, literally I was hearing a voice saying, my son died for you, not Selassie. My son, death on the cross means you can be forgiven of your sin. And I'm thinking, wow, no man, I haven't smoked for a long time. It was just so real. It was so real. And I remember going to a club and 3:30 in the morning, I heard this voice again. What are you doing here? You don't belong here. And that really spoke to me in a very powerful way. And I thought, cool, my ganja must have been strong tonight.
Yes.
But it was interesting because again, 2 weeks later, I met another guy on my way near Chalk Farm, near the Roundhouse, near Regent's Park. And this guy began to speak to me about Jesus. And he quoted from the old King James Version, there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but at the end thereof are the ways of death. And I went with my friend, we were smoking, and there was nothing I could think about but those scriptures. God was speaking to me. God spoke to me in the nightclub, and it was strange because when I became a Christian, I thought, what was God doing in a nightclub at 3:30 in the morning? He was looking for me.
Looking for you.
He was looking for me.